hello. That's way better.
Okay.
Perf.
Okay, are we ready?
We're so ready.
Welcome back to the Gilded Eye Podcast, everybody.
Welcome.
We walked to the studio today. We're really fit.
We're fit.
Yep.
No Fat Tuesday for us.
Skinny Tuesday.
Only
Skinny Tuesday.
We did walk to a coffee shop and then eat a lot of sugar.
No.
The sugars. Mm-mm. But it was really good and it was
In
worth
Bev form, so it doesn't count.
We
Doesn't
didn't
count.
eat anything.
Canceled out.
it. Canceled out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're actually going to be talking a lot about bodies today.
Yeah.
Specifically, bodies from
Meg
the
the
Middle
Stallion.
Ages.
I fucking knew it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
You knew it?
Today,
I just had that prediction in my head as soon as we sat down.
I have never heard of this till right now.
We've also started doing this new thing where we include the bloopers and some tangents from recording at the end of the episode after the music plays. Mm-hmm. So if you want to stick around for that, they're very funny and I laugh cry when I edit. It's very fun.
Yeah, stick around. It's my favorite part. And I'm on the podcast and I forget every time. And then I'm pleasantly surprised when I hear the absolute nonsense that comes after the music.
And we're a little bit
fun.
more candid because, we keep it uptight on the pod proper. We keep it really tight. We keep it very profesh.
That's why we talk about hogs and all that. Yeah.
So if you want some raw, uncut podcast action, stay after the outro music and you'll find more of us.
Anyways, thanks so much.
Yeah. Today, I want to explore how people from medieval times, roughly the years 300 to 1500, give or take, viewed and understood their own bodies.
Whoa.
We have a lot of information about this from old medical texts and manuscripts, but what I find most interesting are the visual aids, so like illustration, sculpture, etc., that people from the Middle Ages utilized to break down the essentials and get to the bottom of the mystery, which was medical science, hygiene, and biology.
Wow. I forget that that's something people just didn't know. Me washing my hands with my little Castile soap in the bathroom. Like, this is norm. I know
So
what my
norm.
heart looks like.
People were like, yeah, in order to get to be the cleanest, I must become the dirtiest. And
Yes.
it's just like backwards thought that did kind of make logical sense.
They were trying anything on.
Well, I'm thinking through a lot of this research, that I was doing, I was finding myself thinking or trying to gaslight myself into thinking that I didn't know how anything worked. Like if I had no knowledge of modern medicine,
what would you
science
do?
or whatever,
Yeah.
how would I validate and reason with any of this stuff that we're going to talk about? And honestly, some of these points I'm like,
I would definitely fall for them.
I would
I'm
chomp
definitely
on
subject
it.
to that
Yeah.
mentality.
Leeches.
We're going to be talking
Sure,
about
suck
that.
it, suck out the toxins.
Yeah, I would think that they were right.
I would agree. I'd be like,
Truly.
oh, sure.
Especially like a doctor.
Yeah, I will chew on a mint leaf and be healed.
Some of them were definitely more heinous than others. But we're going to chat. We're going to chat head to toe. We're going to go from head to toe. Through the body.
Shoulders, knees and toes. Knees and toes. Yes.
Yeah. But before I start, I want to give all of the flowers to the author of the book I'm referencing in this episode called Medieval Bodies, Life, Death, and Art in the Middle Ages by Jack Hartnell. And this is such a good book. There's 2 alternate covers that I included, and both are stunning.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
It was so fun. I don't normally read anything outside of biography when it comes to nonfiction, but this felt like a literal story through the human form. It was so fun. So please read this book. I couldn't include anything, everything from the story, but it was amazing and so well researched. And there's pictures in it.
Amazing.
Win, win, win. It's hard to say exactly what the Middle Ages were like back then because it varies based on when and where you were. It's such a broad period of time spanning through multitudes of people, culture, and religion. Some say the Middle Ages were kickstarted in 476 after the collapse of the Roman Empire, brought an end to imperial rule in Europe. Belle is listening or watching a Roman Empire show right now.
I'm listening to The History of Rome by Mike Duncan. Oh man, Duncan. It's fantastic. Give it a listen. Everyone on Reddit recommended it and they're right.
The exact start and end dates are wishy-washy, as most movements are, but we are going to mark shifts like this through the gradual change in ideas and thinking as documented through human creation. In this case, we'll learn about it through the artwork of the time.
So cool.
The places we'll discuss today are primarily Byzantium, a Greek-speaking Christian empire that, at its height, spanned through Greece, the Balkans, Anatolia, North Africa, and much of the Levant. Then there's Western and Central Europe. Think Vikings, Friars, Saxons, that good shit, Ragnar Lothbrok.
Of course.
As we do. Then there's the Islamic regions spanning the Iberian Peninsula, North Africa, and modern-day Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Wow.
So, if the Gilded Eye podcast were to flash back 1,000 years ago, first of all, there would be nowhere to record.
No matcha.
There would be also a whole lot of nothing. Back then, populations in towns were a lot smaller. Religion played a fundamental role in day-to-day existence, differently to how we live today, depending on where you live, I suppose, because religion still dominates a lot of different areas.
Truly.
And how people exist. The book lays out a good parallel. Back then, people spoke about religion as we speak about science today. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that is a given.
It's just natural.
That's just how it is. That's just how communities ran. As always, when we bounce back in time, we are probably in extreme poverty.
Of course.
But your fate could always push you into new successes. A 10th century Spanish manuscript shows the Roman goddess of fortune, who is incredibly popular amongst medieval moralists. In the image, she spins her crank to change the fate of 4 kings balancing on her wheel.
She cranks it out.
She cranks it. This tossing about of destiny lays out the idea of clear-cut winners and losers. There was not much nuance.
Mm-hmm. Also, saying that we were in poverty, speak for yourself.
Well, I was going to say...
I'm marrying rich.
I was going to say, what does a winner look like? You might be wondering. If Belle were a winner, she would own land.
No shot.
She would also have financial control of what comes out of that land, the produce, whatever it may be, wool, iron, furs, slaves, etc. Belle might even know how to read and write. On the other end of Fortuna's wheel, poor Myra wouldn't be educated in the slightest. Myra would probably be riddled with plague.
Oh, my lord, I have too much plague, please.
Got whipworm, lactose intolerance. That's what Otzi had.
Oh, no.
Arthritis.
No land, manual labor.
No bitches.
20 children, probably. So sad, R.I.P.
So sorry.
How many baby mamas?
Baby mamas.
You're the woman, you dingling. You're the one pushing out the kids.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was gender bent.
Oh,
because,
could be.
women didn't work. Really.
Yeah, this is kind of
wow.
a stretch. Yeah. So if you were both men and that's how it
You
would
wouldn't
be.
own land either.
Well, my husband did.
Your husband.
Your husband.
Yeah, my husband, he owns allegories. Ha, 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 ha. No.
However, it is a misconception that people from this time were constantly toothless, crippled, and sick.
What?
We have more information today about infection and public health, obviously, that protects us from large-scale disease and injury. Something I thought was interesting is that the air they breathed in medieval times, as well as the food they consumed, was potentially much cleaner than ours because they weren't using modern chemicals and pollutants.
Wow. I feel like we tend to lump medieval people into the box of uncivilized just because they're so far removed from what we experience, but we don't actually, there's no way for us to truly understand what it was like for them on a day-to-day basis.
A huge difference between now and then, the main subject of our chat today is the way medieval people viewed their bodies and how they functioned. The quote-unquote cures of the past strike a particular nerve between hilarity and discomfort. The lack of knowledge led to curious hypotheses and even stranger practices, such as rubbing vinegar and honey into your scalp to prevent male pattern baldness.
True.
Inserting peppercorns into your vagina to prevent pregnancy, and applying cow dung to your eyes to alleviate your tear ducts, ?
Alleviate.
I don't know what that means.
Right,
Wow.
okay.
I looked it up. No further
I feel
information.
like the male pattern baldness thing, I feel like that is a remedy you would see like on Reddit today.
like apple cider vinegar type stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Most of these cures were absurd. Today, we think of the body as more of a closed system with our skin as the border. But back then, it was more of an open concept type of deal. Yes?
I have something to say. Mm-hmm. I'm still thinking about the cow manure on the eyes. Yeah. Holy pink eye.
Yeah, I know.
E. coli. Are they kidding?
I looked it up.
burns, it's
That was
working.
listed as a thing in the book, and I looked it up. I couldn't find anything else, but I was like, I have to include that.
You have to.
If it's wrong, please let me know. But if it's right, please let me know.
Poop on the eyes.
What type of poop?
It just says cow manure.
So, okay, cow poop. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we're not animals, okay? It's not
Yeah,
human
right.
poop. It's cow poop. It's not good. It's not good either way. See, that's, yeah. I was trying to find an explanation for that because normally these come with like, these people did this because of this reason. That one I couldn't really find.
It was just like cow manure. Moving on.
Anyway,
Anyways,
it
my
really
name's
felt like
Jack.
no aftercare. I was like, damn.
Damn. She got a fucking dumb. All right. See y'all.
Okay. We related understanding our bodies to understanding the world around us. The quartet of elements on Earth, water, fire, earth, and air, was thought to affect the internal properties of all things. Each element was associated with other descriptors: hot, wet, dry, and cold. Then there were 4 viscous internal substances that related to each of these properties: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile.
I've heard a lot about yellow bile.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So it's just like breaking down the body into different descriptors.
Yeah, but what is yellow bile? What is black bile?
It's like all associated with different organs in the body.
And different like symptoms. Like if you are like have a certain type of ailment or even mental health concern, people will be like, oh, that guy, he's just got a lot of yellow bile, or his black bile is imbalanced from his yellow bile.
Good Lord.
And then they would take then whatever quote unquote cure that they tried to inflict upon
ridiculous,
the person would try and balance out the out of whack equilibrium of the bileses or the phlegms or the blood, which is why we have like bloodletting or, you know, something of that sort. Like everything they did was to try and balance out
Yeah.
the insides. Yeah.
I love that the 4 elements are coming into play.
Oh, yeah, it's really cool. We're going to talk about that more later. This image depicts a page from the thorny Computus. Computus?
Computus.
By the way, we have visual slides on youtube.com/Gilded Eye Podcast. Please check them out. They're all cool and medieval today. This is a macroscopic conception of the world, intertwining the 4 elements with the zodiac, winds, and lunar cycle. The 4 letters in the middle spell out Adam, placing man in the center of everything.
That is sick.
So this is how people thought everything was relating to each other, which is pretty cool. We're not just our form, period. We're
it's
our
all
form in the context of the whole universe. Which
And
I like.
they thought that back then, in that time. I think we lost the vision. We lost the
vision, we
vision,
lost
and then
the
we came
plot.
back.
So where do you go back then if your body fails you? In Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo, you might visit one of the earliest hospital complexes ever created. These Baimaristans incorporated wards as well as wellness centers and educational branches like libraries. Old-timey physicians were encouraged to develop a wide breadth of knowledge in order to best serve the public. These centers of intellectualism weren't the only resource for people in need. People often turned to the broad term of empirics, midwives, apothecaries, barbers, dentists, and craftsmen for help. They differed from their university counterparts because they took their fundamental understanding of ailments and turned it into an on-the-ground practice. Instead of philosophizing over an illness and quoting Latin at patients, these people were trying to make active change, trying things for better or for worse. Most would not be literate at all, but they'd have experience. For example, a surgeon's apprentice would have close-hand knowledge of application and cutting techniques from watching his master work. Physician organizations were safeguarded by the elite Latin language and in writing that many could not understand. They were powerful social institutions that were focused on developing new ideas and techniques, but not everybody had access to them. So we had like on-the-ground people, and then we had some beginnings of institutions that were fuddling about in medical learning. Since religion was so fundamental at this point in time, it was believed that one's physical well-being was linked directly with their spiritual wellness. It was another pillar that could be knocked out of whack and lead to a horrible ailment. Spiritual beliefs also inspired hope. An old Aramaic practice of harnessing spiritual power and ritualized drinking inspired the creation of bronze bowls inscribed with instructions for the mixing of infusions and settings of different temperatures to yield healing results.
Me with my tea. Me with a hot Irish breakfast in the morning.
Piping hot.
Piping. Little soy milk.
Little soy milk.
I'm like, this is for my ailments.
This is for my balance.
This is for my balance. My
I
yellow
do feel
bile.
that way.
No, I do. I wake up, if I don't have tea, I didn't have tea this morning before this, and the whole walk I was like,
Eye twitching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Truly.
devoid
Yeah.
of personality.
I don't feel warm inside.
No. Or
No.
happy.
Okay, well, anyway. A surviving brass bowl from around 1200 depicts images of poisonous animals to ward off death in the realm of childbirth. Drinking from a vessel such as this was believed to cure disease, fend off sickness, and bring energy to whatever messages were inscribed on the bowls.
I would believe that. If you gave me a bowl and said you'll get from the inscriptions, I'd be like, yeah.
Period.
It's pretty.
It's pretty.
It's pretty. It's beautiful.
And you believe in the words, you know?
I believe in the word of the brass bowl.
Put my matcha in the bowl. I'm going to drink it.
Your biles are about to go crazy.
Put a little chalky milk in there.
Little chalky milk.
Little chalky
Yahoo.
milk.
Chocolate drink.
Oh, God. I want some apple.
My
Oops, sorry, I'm
Capri
yelling. I want some cran raspberry juice, please.
Thank you.
You ever had that?
Yeah. I like cran apple, and I like to drink it on airplanes.
For real.
Now, let's talk about the head. Hey, Belle, how's your head?
Huge, actually. My head is huge.
Giant noggin.
A lot
I'm
of
not
people.
going to say the thing.
What? I don't want to say it. It's naughty.
Okay. Anyway.
It's naughty. How's your head? No complaints yet.
The soul was thought to dwell inside the body, and some believed directly in the brain. There's this war about if the soul is dwelling either in the brain or in the heart.
So they know that there's a brain and that there's a heart.
They don't. So they do
Conceptually,
eventually. They
yeah.
do eventually know about the brain, but they know that the head controls most of the decision making,
yeah.
the function.
Huh.
They kind of clocked that.
That's kind of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that.
Because where else? You know what I mean?
Where else is there an orb of
I feel like
knowledge?
all of the senses also kind of exist in the head as its central location, and that's how we kind of navigate
goes
the
back,
world.
yeah.
So that might be why everyone was like, control center in here. A 13th century encyclopedia image depicts the brain separated into different pieces, not just a slob
wow.
of gray matter, but a map of thought.
Wow.
This process of thought was theorized as an action occurring across these brain sections or cells.
Wow.
This early idea included networks of nerves that stored and carried physical information between the brain and the rest of the body. If all was well, according to a Syrian scientist from the year 820, the thought process should be lightning fast and effortless. If you are experiencing a thickening of thoughts as commonly observed in children, idiots, and women, you might want to be evaluated.
The idiots, children, and women.
He's like, I need to write this down.
Put it in the encyclopedia.
R.I.P. this guy from Syria. You would have loved Andrew Tate.
Truly.
Being a woman, though, like womanly condition, was considered a condition. And we'll talk a little bit more about that.
That's crazy.
But isn't it, though?
Oh, I mean,
Here I am.
yeah, Myra is suffering.
Afflicted, you
Myra
know?
is
Afflicted by the womanly
Myra's
condition.
being really brave this episode,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you. I have cramps.
Yeah, you're amazing and beautiful.
Yep.
Underactivity in the brain cells could be treated a number of different ways. This is funny. Shouting, playing trumpets or bells loudly in the patient's ear, plucking chest hairs, or holding up a screaming piglet in front of their face. These were considered shock treatments to wake up whatever area of the brain was lacking.
Healed.
They were like,
worked.
something in there is asleep. Wake up! A screaming piglet
what
is
Adderall
crazy.
is.
True. Putting fucking screaming pigs in front of idiots, children, and women, hoping that they wake up from their stupor. That's crazy.
Stupor.
So, yeah.
Whoa.
Beheadings were in during the Middle Ages.
Oh, thank God.
And they were
in.
actually very symbolic. Myra, I thought about you when I was writing
Oh,
this whole
thank
thing.
God. I'm so excited.
Political thinkers of the time associated the state of society with the human form. The Englishman John of Salisbury was an author who wrote of the body politic, a metaphor for society as a being with moving parts. Peasants were the feet, tripping over each other for the sake of a higher power. Registrars and treasurers made up the stomach, digesting the state's bureaucracy. The knights of the realm made up the hands and arms. The government was the beating heart, and judges were the all-seeing eyes and tongue. Above everything was the king, the, quote, head of state. If one area was to become too powerful, the being would suffer and die. To overthrow the head of state, to decapitate the system of rule oppressing so many unhappy common people, is a morbid carrying out of this metaphor.
Wow.
To lash out against rebellion, a warning not to cross the king, many of the beheadings of this time were flamboyant and public, if not in real life, then recycled in fiction.
I love that.
Wow, I never really thought of it like that, ever.
And they say head of state, like, still.
Yeah. The chroniques, the chronics?
Chronique.
Smoking that chronic.
It was an early account of the 100 Years' War, and this image that I pulled illustrates the threat of violence on both sides. Beheading, severing the link between center of thought and the rest of us, was the most final of all executions. Sometimes, though, the head remained sentient after such a severing.
What?
So strong was the power of our brain and God in many cases that people remained animated after death. Saints, in particular, were very fond of this.
Oh.
Saint Denis was beheaded on Paris's highest hill, and after his head hit the ground, the rest of his body reached out and caught it, reportedly.
Like a chicken.
Like
that
a little
keeps running.
chicken. Yeah.
And they get their head
Like a
chopped off.
chicken.
With his own head in his arms, he reportedly walked another 6 miles before collapsing
come
on
on.
what would become a cathedral in his honor.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Headless saints such as these are known as cephalopores.
Sure.
Cephalophores, I think that's it, and are able to move through God's power. These holy heads were cherished and collected after death. They became a source of interest, holy talismans. Morbidly, they drew people into the church. One, if not the most popular image of this, would be John the Baptist's head, which was cut off and displayed on a platter. Countless commissions were made to have the likeness of John's gourd displayed in church, just so the faithful could come face to face with such a holy character.
Wow.
People prayed to images and sculptures of John's head to cure their own headaches and ailments, directly linking this holy suffering to their own.
Okay.
Crazy that his name is John.
Just John.
Just a guy.
Just some guy named John.
I love all the paintings of John the Baptist. And
Yeah.
what's her name holding the head?
Salome?
Salome with the head of John the Baptist. Please.
Y'all, I am lost to this history. I need to do some more history reading. Good
It's a biblical tale.
In the same vein, other body parts were kept as well, like St. Anthony's jawbone. Set in a decorative display dripping with gold and miniatures, the jawbone sits on a clear bed of rock crystal. To capture some of this holy energy for oneself, visitors would kiss the remains. This practice was also common for Byzantine icons and Jewish shrines. Some relics were completely destroyed under the mouths of faithful pilgrims, desperate for sacred connection. The mouth was specifically a point of contact, a threshold for grace to flow through an item and into someone's being.
Wow.
So that's little mouth detour. Little mouth detour there.
A little detour to the mouth.
And speaking of the mouth, I have a side note about teeth as well, which is fun.
What?
When a tooth had to be removed, as they often did back then, the cavity was treated with herbs, spices, and peppercorns. There was-
Peppercorns again.
Again. I mean,
They like a
in the
spice.
hooch.
teeth and...
In the tooth?
Yep, as
Which
you
is
do,
the same thing.
essentially.
A hole.
They're like
Teeth
whole
aren't holes, though.
peppercorn.
Whole peppercorn.
It's an average Tuesday afternoon.
Urethra peppercorn.
Don't say that.
I'm sorry. I said it.
There was a consensus amongst many old texts that the goal of removing a tooth was to seek out and wrangle the toothworm, a tiny creature responsible for the pain.
What?
This worm turned
Right.
out to be the nerve remaining in the tooth's absence, which
Shut
was
the
a
fuck.
wiggly little thing.
Ew. What? That's a thing? Ew, I'm sick. That's
like,
real?
Yeah,
Ew.
there were all of these, in all of the writings and stuff, they were like, you must find the little toothworm.
But was there actually that's a thing? There's actually a
It's
little,
just a
There's
nerve.
a nerve in your tooth,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can see it.
I think if you remove enough tooth.
I think if you remove the whole tooth,
That
there's
is
the nerves.
fucking disturbing, and I feel sick to my stomach.
Usually I feel like when you pull a tooth out, just like straight up yank that
Yeah.
puppy, the nerve is plucked with it.
Well,
No.
maybe they're...
But they probably didn't have the technology to.
Ugh.
Gross.
happen.
I've never had a tooth pulled.
You've never had a tooth pulled?
I have no
Wisdom
I
teeth?
had a dream that I grew wisdom teeth. No, I have no wisdom teeth. I had
Wow.
a dream. It was so vivid. It's all coming to me that I had wisdom teeth and they came out of nowhere, but there was no dentist because the world was ending and someone had to do it and there was a dog and it was horrible.
Wisdom teeth are like that's like a surgery. I've never had my wisdom teeth removed. I have had 5 teeth pulled. I've had teeth pulled fully conscious. They just numbed my mouth.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
my sister too, when she was like
Oh,
12.
that feeling must be crazy.
So much pressure.
My sister had like 9 teeth pulled.
What?
for like no reason.
I had a lot of teeth pulled just because I had a lot of baby teeth that wouldn't come out of my head.
Hers were adult teeth.
What?
Yeah, because her
Does
mouth
she
is
have
so small.
any teeth anymore?
She does, like, it was like 9. It was a lot of teeth. I think it was some baby teeth. So
Mine were all
maybe-
baby teeth.
And
all
then,
baby teeth.
and then it was probably like 5 baby teeth, 4 adult teeth kind of deal, and then wisdom teeth.
That's crazy.
wisdom teeth have never.
Yeah, her mouth is just so small, and her teeth are so fucked up, and our orthodontist was nuts. But
It was the
He
worm.
was like, you know what? Let's get the teeth.
now she has cute little teeth, though.
It was the worm.
It was the worm for real.
So, what do we think is going on in this image?
Can I see this up closer? Perhaps I don't have my spectacles on. Pardon me, Lilo.
Is that
Aikman.
his skin?
That looks like muscles.
This is a man carrying his own
own
skin
skin.
on a pole.
Disgusting.
So they knew that there was muscles up in there.
They had to have
knew.
known there was something defined. They had to have known it wasn't just skin. Right?
It's true.
I think even though, like, you can see that it's a little bit muscular in the difference of color, but there's no real separation of muscle. It's just kind of one
just like,
being.
oh, it's pink in
one
there.
muscle.
It's
Yeah.
just pecs. It's just pecs.
This little guy was created as part
Poor
of an
guy.
illustrated series complementing a surgical text by Henri de Mondeville in an attempt to elevate the profession in society. Still, something's wrong here. Where are his insides? Back
Oh, true.
in the Middle Ages, the concept of looking beneath the skin was a taboo. What right did anyone have to upset and brutalize the dead? In Henri's native France, the answer was none. In Italy, however, they made the jump. A man in northern Italy had died from an unknown disease, and out of desperation, a doctor was granted permission to investigate his insides. This sparked curiosity from many freak weirdo doctors everywhere. Postmortems became more common and began to have real-world effects as medical truth as well as forensic evidence. There was also an uptick in grave robbing for the cause, which we can't recommend here at the Gilded Eye podcast, not even for medical advancement, but maybe for art, just a little.
Mia. Wait,
What was his face? Who
Yeah.
rated that grave for the
Caravaggio?
poems?
Oh, that was Dante.
Dante.
Oh
he
my
wanted
God.
for
Dante
Elizabeth.
Rossetti.
Yes.
Yeah, Dante Gabriel Rossetti, pre-Raphaelite, raiding the graves.
But then there was wasn't Caravaggio that there was that painting
Yeah.
of the woman holding the dead body or whatever?
people later on than this, after it was still taboo, but it was a little bit later on, I believe, people were starting to paint corpses
Fucking
as
weird.
reference. Yeah. Doctors were set on understanding the properties of skin itself, not only what lay beneath. This image is an early illustration of a rhinoplasty, where
Whoa.
nose job alert.
They had nose jobs
well,
Look at that contraption.
cosmetically.
it was mainly due to horrible disfigurements on the battlefield to like
Right.
reconstruct someone's nose, also syphilis. Because the nose
yeah.
bridge
But
collapsed.
they couldn't like knock somebody out in this day, so they were like, "You got to hold your breath.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Put y'all seatbelts on. We gotta reconstruct that snoot."
Truly.
Pat, let's go.
This man is basically transferring skin from his bicep to his
That's
schnoz.
crazy that they thought to do that, because that's true. That's
It's
like
nuts.
what they do now.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh my God. I didn't
It's like a
realize that's
skin
what that-
graft, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Little contraption.
Little contraption.
Ew. I feel sick.
Sorry, Bill.
That's okay.
Obviously, discussions of skin reveal a lot of medieval views on race. In the Middle Ages, there were stories of multiple skin tones coming together in one being to represent social tolerance. One example of this appears in a fantastical surgical operation. A man lies on an operating table, his left leg being eaten away with disease. The patron saints of the medical profession, Cosmas and Damian, perform a miracle and replace his leg with one from an Ethiopian man.
Oh?
The man wakes up the next morning completely healed. This story stands out as one of spiritual and medical triumph and doesn't really comment about race relations in a negative way.
Right.
I'm sure it's much more complicated than just, and everyone is happy because where's the Ethiopian man?
Because
What
the
are the
leg is brown
details?
now. Yeah, we don't know who. Yeah.
Yeah, but
What one or why?
the point of like this artwork and this story is that instead of focusing on the race relations, it was
Exactly.
mainly about the miracle.
And also, I feel like it like maybe implies we're all human in the
Yeah.
sense that
Yeah.
can use somebody's leg. Apparently,
Apparently.
But it's still a
It's
human
just
leg.
skin. It's kind of getting to like it's just skin kind of it all. Of like, come on, brother.
Come on.
It's just a leg.
I just need my leg.
Just a leg.
That didn't work.
Yeah, this is a story. I'm not sure if it's rooted in a specific example, but most often skin and skin tone were used to demonize people from other regions with other religious practices. In artwork of this time, skin tone was characterized so bizarrely that dark-skinned people were painted in shades of blue to make them seem more alien.
What?
Especially in like manuscripts and stuff, which were already very colorful. People would just accentuate. It was caricature. It was,
absolutely.
and we still do this, and we've seen it evolve through the ages about how to cast people out and paint them in a horrible, horrible light. So it was stemming all the way back to this time period when we were interacting with different cultures that seemed, quote unquote, bizarre or different.
Right, and I feel like the interactions with those cultures at this time in the Middle Ages were more minimal than they became later on. Mm-hmm. I think that once colonization started to happen and the transatlantic slave trade, they doubled down.
Doubling down.
Doubled down on all of their horrid ideals.
Discovering...
Sorry, this looks like something Zoe's 7-year-old brother would try. Look at the... I'm sorry. Look at the skull. This looks like some shit I'd pull out in 2nd grade and be like, Mama, check it.
The ribs are bonkers, though.
Why are there 7,000 of them?
I was going to say.
Looks like you guys watch Attack on Titan?
Yes!
It looks like
the
fucking
founding
Eren.
Titan.
Yeah.
Discovering all of the bones proved to be a frustrating and complicated process because of all of the other stuff around them. All the muscle, all the tendons, all the whatever. It wasn't easy access as like muscles were. This image that Bel made fun of from 1488, Persia, looks a little crude, a little rash maybe.
Look at the neck.
You said that you would draw it in 2nd grade.
Yeah, it's horrible.
What's the medium here? We don't know what they're working with.
It looks like notebook paper and a pencil is what it looks like.
But this image is actually a dorsal view of a person, meaning we're viewing this person from the back with their head tilted up. So it was the first gist of how our internal structure operated.
People were painting things far more magnificent than this by then. They could have used some perspective. Come on.
The legs are a little bit not in proportion, I will say.
Nothing is. If that's supposed to be from the back, the feet are going the wrong way.
There's feet?
Yeah, at the bottom.
Oh, I thought that this was just like thigh up.
No, all the legs are smushed down there.
Like what? They could.
Who is this person?
We are not sure. Back then, on the subject of bones, where were people putting them after death?
Oh,
There's
speaking of.
one story that really captured me, the one of Alice Chaucer. Alice was already from a wealthy family, but throughout her life, she kept climbing up the ladder. She had 3 husbands, not at the same time.
Period.
Each of higher social status than the last, and all of whom she outlived.
Yes.
She poured her fortune into her own unusual tomb, which housed her upon her death in 1475. This alabaster effigy shows Alice carved with a peaceful expression, wearing a rich cloak and coronet indicating her high standing as a duchess. She also has a small band around her left forearm, signifying her allegiance to the Order of the Garter, the highest chivalric honor bestowed by the king, which was never granted to a woman, so perhaps this is her own fan fiction of herself.
She's like,
as she should.
She was like, this is me.
She reminds me of that. I saw a clip on Instagram yesterday, and it was from like the Real Housewives of something, and she was like, my sole source of income is my 2 divorces. She was like, and I worked for my money.
And she probably did, honestly.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
She put in work for some treacherous man. She said, pay up, honey.
Benefits.
Thank you.
But beneath this picturesque carving, viewers could peer through a small grille to see a different version of Alice, one that represents her after death. It's her decaying corpse carved in alabaster.
Whoa.
Her nose is missing, her jaw is dropped in rigor mortis, and the bones of her ribs are visible.
Wow.
These 2 Alices existing at once represent Alice in the limbo after death. She was both a jumble of bones and a soul away somewhere awaiting heavenly judgment. As we spoke about before, the heart is another contender for the house of the soul. People fought about this. People got nasty over it. They were like, heart versus brain. Which is it?
Yep, I'm mad. That's my mad impression. Thank you.
Angry.
I'm angry.
Guys, we did a lot today already. It's one of the few organs we can actually hear from within ourselves, and it's constant. It was often described as a source of heat, an internal sun that nourished the other organs. People didn't know many details about the circulatory system back then, but it was common to associate deep feeling with the organ of the heart.
That's crazy that who?
I think like heartache, like when you're
Like you do
anxious
feel it in your
chest. The heart and the eyes were often aligned with or pit against each other as two different seers. The eyes observe, but the heart truly sees. Gerard de Bornel, sorry, from
Sorry.
from the 1180s wrote, "So through the eyes love attains the heart. For the eyes are the scouts of the heart, and the eyes go searching for what would please the heart to possess."
Okay.
Similar types of courtly love poems inspired illustrations like this one, portraits from the Codex Manesse, all about tales of love, conquest, yearning, adventure, and chastity until the wooing has been successful.
Aw.
Stories involving the heart are often way more personal than with any other organ. It's inherently attached to our moral status and how we treat others. There are many revenge stories from this time that include cutting out someone's heart, cutting an evildoer's chest to find they never possessed a heart at all, or even feeding your unknowing wife's lover's heart to her on a platter to highlight her bone-deep depravity.
Wow.
Oh.
So it's pretty personal. The visuals that accompany courtly love poems are our first glimpse into how people were utilizing the heart not simply as medical guidance, but visual allegory as well. There's, of course, the classic graphic symbol we see on Valentine's Day cards and elementary school papers. Often this symbol was present amidst the drawings of leaves and plants thought to be aphrodisiacs, or simply that the symmetrical halves of this symbol were easier to draw than the realistic bicameral organ, which I probably think is
Probably
the
true.
reason. Either way, the association stuck, and when the printing press took off in the 1400s, it was all over. The simple clip art heart was a staple from romantic tokens. It was a way to animate romantic feeling, bringing the heart outside of our bodies to declare love as a separate character.
It looks like two heart organs smushed together.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, maybe it's like
I don't know if they thought
two
that.
bodies, two hearts coming together to form one.
Do you ever think about how we came from that to the K-pop finger heart?
Now I am.
I'm thinking about it.
The pipeline.
On my mind.
Successful love was often illustrated as two hearts balanced on a scale. In some cases, the scale is imbalanced in unrequited affection. The heart was responsible for our physical reaction to painful situations and was illustrated as such. When we felt anger, the heart was charged and hot, sending fire to our fingertips and toes. When we felt despair, the heart was hard, heavy, and cold, a chilling vacuum. Essentially, in cases of rejection and betrayal, the heart became a visual punching bag. A print by Master Caspar von Regensburg, circa 1485, depicts the Venus-like Frau Minnie torturing the heart of her lover in 19 different ways.
As she should. I mean,
Fair enough, girl.
His heart, illustrated as the simple symbol we discussed earlier, is slashed and pierced, stamped, burned at the stake, sawn in two, smushed in a bear trap, and more. Her beloved sits in the corner, pathetic and worn out, begging for mercy. There is a rhyming triplet written around him, which roughly translates to, "Oh, Fraulein, pretty and fine, release me from the pain and take me in your arms." On the bottom of the print lies her response, "You fool."
Oh,
God forbid women have hobbies.
she got him.
She got him.
Wait, you said something about when love is good or whatever, and like the fingertips.
I know
thought
what
of
you're gonna say.
Stefan.
I immediately thought of Stefan
So
as well.
there's some science behind this.
He's
Stefan
not-
guy.
yeah.
Stefan. He wasn't lying.
Not
wasn't
without
lying.
merit,
Not without merit.
except, well,
Well,
Let's see.
all of it.
Oh, Myra, guess what time it is?
oh goodness.
It's time for blood. Sorry, you just always talk about blood, so I thought about you. This is a bloodletting figure from a Hebrew medical manuscript, and it was designed as a guide for medical practitioners in the realm of blood therapy. I believe we're all familiar with the idea of bloodletting and leeches from this time.
You bleed it, and no more hurt no more.
Okay.
Bleed it and forget it.
I think that's exactly how they said it.
This practice stems from the idea that most maladies were caused by an excess of blood in our bodies, which needed to be let out or rerouted to other areas of the body. This practice was called phlebotomy.
Just got to reroute my blood.
Just got to reroute it.
Yeah.
And, if I was alive in that time, I'd be like, hell yeah.
I would believe anything that they told me.
I'd be like,
I'm
yeah,
gonna be
makes
honest.
sense. If I have a really bad headache where I feel like there's pressure in my head, I'm like, yeah, I want to pop it like a balloon.
I need to take some blood out of there.
Yeah.
That and my yellow bile.
My yellow bile, my blood.
All out
Too
of
much
whack.
black bile, too much headache, too much blood in my left pinky toe. It's got to go.
not again.
It has to go. So, but bloodletting did not just revolve around the locations on the body itself, but also our position in the greater universe. I don't know if you guys remember, before I was talking about how back then we thought of ourselves in the context of the stars and the universe instead of just one physical body. It was connected to much, much more. So the concept of melisthea, we'll see, laid out that our surrounding cosmology was profoundly influential in how different areas of our bodies operated at different times, and therefore different body parts were linked to lunar and planetary movements.
I love that, though. That's fantastic.
It's fun.
That's so... that's
How
true.
do we know if they're wrong?
How do we know?
That's what I'm saying.
They're right. I mean, not to be harping on this again, but the period literally does that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
The
right.
menstrual cycle.
I love when she syncs with the moon.
What
She
about my
does.
kidney stones? What if that's...
How many kidney stones have you had?
I don't have any kidney stones. But you know what I mean. What if this guy's kidney stones? What if that's lunar?
That guy has kidney stones. I think.
Well, you might be...
Canon.
Well, you might be wondering why this man is adorned not only in areas of the body where one might bloodlet, but also animals and symbols. And these are the symbols of the 12 zodiac signs.
Oh.
So basically,
Where's Taurus? Be honest.
okay, I'll go through.
Listen.
The Aries ram sits above the head. Sagittarius archers and Capricorn unicorns, because back then it was a unicorn, even though now it's a mermaid goat, which I like.
Did you see me when you said that? I went. I was ready. I was like, where is it?
So curious.
These lay on the upper and lower thighs. Aquarian water vessels float above his shins. The Gemini twins latch onto each elbow. Scorpio on the groin. Libra
Of course.
balance. Yep. Libra balances on the pelvis. Taurus rests on the chest.
Fuck you.
Leo pokes out from the ribs,
knew
and
that.
Virgo ? I could not tell, but I think rests on the right hip. That leaves Pisces absolutely chomping on those feet.
Of course. Have you heard the stereotype that Pisces have foot fetishes?
Well, clearly.
I'm
yeah.
gonna text Craig right now and ask her.
So
Is that really a thing?
Because the different signs of the zodiac are all associated with different areas of the body. That's why I guess neck for Taurus, because that like the neck and upper chest region, the throat. Anyways,
So basically, if a certain area of the body was the problem area, medical professionals would look to astrology to make sure they were bloodletting at the ideal time and at the right location for ideal success. So if there was a problem with the chest and they were like, we need to reroute blood to the chest, they would make sure that everything was coming up Taurus in the sky
Gotta
before
make
they
sure,
did
yeah.
everything to make sure it went well.
I think it's so crazy that in like medieval Europe, when things are Christian predominantly, they're like, yeah, we need to make sure that we're doing things in line with the zodiac.
Yeah, there were so many different practices and ideologies happening in
I also
medicine.
read that a lot of royal courts in medieval times kept an astrologer on
Yes,
staff
That's true.
Yeah.
to make sure that their decisions like aligned with the stars.
We should
Yeah.
be doing that still.
Like back then, like the stars, like they weren't separate from Christianity.
Yeah,
I feel,
exactly,
Because like
yeah.
they were there and they were crazy. Like they're like, what?
Whoa, that shit has to be something.
That shit's there. That's God. And look, I see a man in there.
There be
you know what I
God.
mean? Anyways,
So that's a guide on how to purposefully lose blood. But what happens if you want the bleeding to stop? Say you're a soldier in 1420s Bavaria, and your wartime bestie is bleeding out in your arms. You might take them to a surgeon who would reference this guy, lovingly named the Wound Man. He is another manuscript fellow, but instead of astrological adornments, he is covered head to toe in knife lashings, arrow wounds, and animal bites. Green and blue bulbous spots also indicate he is diseased, and if you look at his stomach contents, has somehow swallowed a toad.
I think I'm going to get that tattooed on me.
That's a good one.
I think
good
I will
tattoo,
get
yeah.
Wound
That's a
Man.
really good
I love
love
his
it.
thong
Yeah, he's serving cunt.
completely.
Like we all know you got a weenie. Put it out there.
He's looking
They could have had
pretty-
syphilis into this.
Yeah, true. He's got way more than just the average stab wound. He's got like everything.
impale, yeah.
He's not doing so hot.
But he looks great.
He looks strong, muscular.
This is so old. That's crazy. I feel like
Lean.
that looks almost like a medical diagram that you could see in an office today. I don't know what any of the contents are, and I don't have my glasses on.
That's fair.
Could be anything.
It looks like
Myra's like, it's perfect.
I'll hang it in
it's
my
just a
home.
blur.
I see a figure. I see body parts labeled ?
Yeah.
Anatomically correct.
Well, he looks not as stiff as some of the other medical people.
I love that he's almost shrugged. He's like, "What are you gonna do?"
Yeah,
You know what I
truly.
mean?
I got an arrow in my thigh. What are you going to do
What are
about
you
it?
gonna do?
Hey, what are we going to do? Could be worse.
Give me some cocaine, please, for the love of God. There's a snake on my ankle. Please, I'm begging you. I'm begging you at this point. Please.
Well, each of these ailments were attached to a number that corresponded to a treatment on a separate page. So it was, you reference Wound Man, he'll take you to the answer. Mm-hmm.
Hot cockles?
All right, I flipped to a different image from 14th century France in which a group of people are playing a game called Hot Cockles. Do we want to guess
Hot
what's happening
cockles.
in this image right now?
Are they warming their penises with
No.
coals?
No.
That's like my first.
There's a man under a skirt.
Yes.
What are they doing with the hot cockles?
A man kneels with his head buried under the skirt of a woman in front of him. His hand is reaching up her thigh. Behind him, two women stand with their hands raised, prepared to spank the man. If the man can recognize which woman has spanked him by the power of her slap alone, he shall be rewarded with a kiss.
What's he doing under the skirt?
He's doing some hot cockles.
I think it's to
Right.
not...
Naturally. That's crazy.
This one is a little bit of a stretch for our theme, but I wanted to include it.
I feel like I would know which one of you spanked me, to be honest.
Really?
I think so.
I'd probably hit you really hard.
That's what I'm thinking. I feel like if Belle, I would have a bruise, but if I would feel like a caress if Mia spanked me.
Mia would be like, I'd be like,
And also, I feel like it would be accompanied by a hoot and a holler either way, and by the nature. Whoop-pow!
I'd hit you and I go, wait, let me drink some water.
I would probably miss.
I can't hit you, Myra. I love you, Myra. And I'm like,
This strange little scene is laid out through the positioning of the character's hands, guiding the action, laying out the information. They're the body's workmen, the leading instrument of the sense of touch. Hands appear more than any other body part in medieval manuscripts. They're called manicules, and their primary function is to guide the reader to specific areas of the text. So little, pointer hands, which is very obvious, but it's kind of fun. And they have their cute little name.
It's so cute that we still use that now, and sometimes on websites they have the little finger that looks like this.
And like
clicking
your
on
little
things.
mouse
Yeah.
on like
my
vintage
God.
computers.
Yeah.
It was a
Yes.
finger.
It was
a
a
little
finger.
finger.
We should bring that
Finger.
back.
No more triangle clicky.
No.
I want finger.
You want finger, yeah.
Not only were hands
I'm concerned.
Not only were hands used as reading tools, but also as memorization tools. The Guidonian hand is a musical guide, a 6-part hexachord system of musical notation. The notes are positioned at one of 19 points around the joints of the fingers, which allows teachers to sign notes to their pupils from across the room. Chiromancy is the act of reading one's hands, the lines on our hands, to predict the future. By looking at marks, creases, and shapes in one's hand, a seasoned reader could predict how many children you'd have, if you'd recover from illness, or if you were destined to lose your testicles.
It's kind of funny that the hand drawing didn't get any better in 500 years.
That's kind of, yeah.
Go to the next one, sorry.
I can't draw a hand ever.
Sorry, that's bad.
It's just the palm is so big compared
And
to
the
fingers.
Who did this?
From England.
Call him out, Myra.
An
Call him
England
out.
artist from...
I mean, I love the background. The background's beautiful.
They spent a lot of time on that and not learning how to draw a
Fuck
hand.
the hand.
Yeah.
Stories spanning throughout many cultures depict characters hell-bent on overindulging, linking the sin of gluttony to something comical, devilish, and sinful.
Me.
We're onto the stomach now.
Oh, boy.
The Latin word for glutton was gula, the anatomical term for gullet, which along with the stomach and intestines make up the digestive system.
Love the word gullet.
I got a gullet.
Gullet.
I love the word gizzard as well.
Gizzard is
Yeah.
good. Gizzard reminds me of a condor, like a vulture bird.
Yeah.
King Gizzard.
Buzzard, that's probably why. The Z of it all. Anyway, books that laid out different medicinal plants and concoctions to be consumed were known as herbals. A collection of these such texts was called the Pseudo-Apuleius Complex, which shows a very wide range of applicable eccentric subject matter. Mulberry, wild cabbage, mandrake, even animals and magical creatures were considered to be cure-alls for the time. The illustrators personified some of these plants. This mandrake the mandrake itself has fairy tale associations of being half plant, half person, and is illustrated as such.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's so fun. I've seen someone with this
12th
tattoo.
century?
Yeah. The mandrake was said to shriek after being pulled from the ground. So this drawing depicts dogs immune to the deafening cries, performing the mighty yank instead of their master.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have those in Harry Potter, the little...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to interrupt you immediately when you said mandrake. I was like, there's that Harry Potter.
But I thought this was cool. I thought this was cool because it, again, shows the connections to otherworldly or little magical fantasy elements
I love
inside
that,
of a
yeah.
medical text as well. It's pretty fun. The lore.
That is very fun. We need to do that more now.
Bring back fun lore.
Bring back the lore.
Bring back magic and medicine.
Come
Bring
on.
back magic, period.
Since prayer at the site of burial was super holy and ended purgatorial suffering, some French people had the bright idea of requesting their entrails be separated from their bodies and buried elsewhere for double the holy reward. These effigies of Charles IV and Jeanne d'Evreux,
Sorry, France.
d'Evreux, show the couple holding bags full of their own intestines.
Did they were, is that real?
Yeah, it represents how they requested their entrails their digestive systems be buried elsewhere,
Not their heart, not their brain,
but their intestines.
their gullet.
There's a lot of imagery, specifically in Christian contexts, that associate women with receptacles. Something comforting, passive, still, absent. A home for a man who is perpetually active to come home to. Man as giver, woman as receiver. This shrine Madonna depicts this association to a womb. So she is this receptacle that is closed off and mysterious, but somehow monstrous and open at the same time, which is
Wow.
something I actually learned a lot in theology class in high school, in Catholic high school. We had like marriage sections, and they were like, you are to be a home for your husband as the church was to Jesus.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of these receptacles or drinking vessels or like vessels.
Yeah, vessels.
Something that holds like a womb does. It's like mirroring of the biological function. And
Like,
you
that's
know,
what a woman is.
yeah.
That's all I am.
I know that's
big
right.
sack.
As it is and was throughout eternity, it was very common to demonize and belittle women through comparison with the male form. Women and AFAB people, obviously.
Really?
Yeah. The association of blood with uncleanliness did numbers, as did the Catholic belief that the pain of childbirth was some type of repentance women had to go through to make up for original sin. There was a lot of myth that went along with misogyny, including the belief that the menstrual blood could perish crops, drive animals crazy, and taint the emotional stability possibility of innocent men everywhere.
My
I
period
wish.
blood.
I wish it held that power.
I would spray it everywhere.
I would wield it.
I would rip my IUD out by myself and resume my bleeding, and I would pour it everywhere. I'd bottle it for months, and then I would cause havoc. Are you kidding me?
A little
Stay back.
perfume. Either like one of those perfume bottles that have the line coming out with
Yes.
a little pouch that you can like...
Your boyfriend's
fancy.
pissing you off. You're like,
And he's like, fuck,
He's like,
I perish.
I'm an
perish.
innocent man.
And I perish. Yep.
There are many more medieval images of wombs than there are of penises at the time, surprisingly. This diagram, which I could only find 4 of the 17, but they depict up to 17, quote, anatomically accurate images of babies in the womb, if, of course, said baby is a fully grown
Is that a
adult
grown
man.
person
Yeah, what?
standing inside the womb?
Yep, they're fully grown adult people, just tiny.
I thought that was a face of a cat with a figure in front of it.
yeah.
Well, kind of, but it is a
You know.
womb with a baby in it,
You know,
apparently.
they weren't like terribly off
That's,
with
yeah,
the shape.
for the 9th century? Is
Yeah.
that what
Yeah.
this is from?
I just like how they've
the
seen
800s.
babies before. And yet
Yeah.
inside they're like, no, tiny, tiny human. I also included an image of this birthing tray from Italy in
Is that a tray
1428.
you birth on?
I believe it was more of a gift that
Okay.
was given to
Okay.
a mother. This one I think is funny because in the front you see the mother dressed in this red elegant robe and like surrounded by all of these women. And it's a woman dominated space. Like childbirth,
Yes.
obviously all of it's very woman run.
That's woman's work.
On the back of this tray, there is another painting of a happy young boy with the text, I am a baby who lives on a rock, and I urinate silver and gold.
Ew.
If a woman was trying not to be pregnant, there are a few things she could try as a contraceptive. And this is a quote from this document. Pay attention, ladies. If a woman does not wish to conceive, let her carry against her nude flesh the womb of a goat which has never had offspring.
Okay.
Otherwise, take a male weasel and let its testicles be removed and let it be released alive. Let the woman carry these testicles with her in her bosom and let her tie them in goose skin or in another skin, and she will not conceive.
Okay.
Who came up with this? I took notes, by the way.
You did?
I took notes on that
Oh,
specifically
good.
so
Okay.
that I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
become with child.
I feel like you would really rock the weasel testicle one, like in your bosom.
Surprise, I bought you some for your birthday.
Oh my god, thank you.
Actually, I scavenged them myself.
They were like, what if it, you know what would be so funny if we made them wear weasel balls in their boobs? Crazy.
What if it works, though?
We should, I mean, has anybody tried it this millennia? Like, let's give it a whirl.
People believed that the uterus, a very sensitive organ, had the power to rise up against its host,
True.
give
That's
off
true.
deadly fumes,
True.
and suffocate her.
Literally true.
That
That is
happened.
endometriosis, girl.
But they literally thought that in the case of the wandering uterus, the uterus would literally rise in the body up to suffocate the woman.
Wait, like
at
it
her
would
throat.
move?
Like it would move.
What's that movie with the runaway vagina?
I'm so sorry.
And it grows teeth and it like...
Oh, teeth.
No, it's not Runaway. It's a woman. She
I
has
think
teeth in
it's-
her vagina.
Yeah, I think it's called teeth.
Oh, I thought that the vagina, like, it hopped off.
No. She figures it out and then she uses it against people.
Yeah, they literally thought that in cases of fainting, it meant that the uterus was rising up inside of the body to her head. And it was like cutting off oxygen, and it was all the womb's fault. Yeah.
I hate to say that they're not entirely wrong, at least in my case.
They'd make the woman smell foul things to intimidate the uterus into returning to its rightful position. They'd be like, get down, girl.
Get down
You
there.
don't want to be up near the head. Which is just ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
This condition was believed to be caused by demonic possession. And yes, there is a protective charm that you can recite as protection.
I'm ready.
It's kind of long, but I really wanted to say it. To the pain in the womb, oh, womb, 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 cylindrical womb, red womb, white womb, fleshy womb, bleeding womb, large womb, nervous womb, floated womb. Oh, demoniacal one, in the name of God the Father, stop the womb of thy maid and heal its affliction, for it is moving violently. I conjure thee, O womb, by our Lord Jesus Christ, not to occupy her head, throat, neck, chest, ears, teeth, eyes, nostrils, shoulder blades, arms, hands, heart, stomach, spleen, kidneys, back, sides, joints, navel, intestines, bladder, thighs, shins, heels, nails, but to lie down quietly in the place which God chose for thee, so that this maid of God be restored to health.
I can picture some crazy man or some crazy woman that fully like believes this on like a wood block. Dear womb, 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 womb.
I would listen to her.
Womb.
I would listen to her, to be honest. I would.
I'd be like, wait, my chest does hurt when I'm bleeding. She's right.
She's right.
In manuscripts and artwork of the time.
Okay. Nuns, can I read the caption? Do you mind if I read it?
Do you want to read the caption?
I'm
going to
read the caption.
All right.
Nuns plucking penises from a tree from the Roman de la Rose manuscript, mid-14th century.
Oh, I do have this saved on Pinterest.
Yeah.
I do.
Nuns plucking penises.
So this one, basically, in manuscripts and artwork of the time, women are depicted either as a passive void waiting to be filled or a devious siren up to no good. The latter inspired, quote, castration anxiety amongst men who were fearful of these women doing them harm, specifically maiming their penises.
How dare they?
So this 13th century French poem depicts these sort of women stuffing their pockets with penises sprouting from a tree.
They're dildo shopping.
They're basically... this was like a common... This was a common...
Pocket penises.
To illustrate this castration anxiety.
That was gross. I'm sorry. Castration anxiety is insane.
Yep. But I did read a theory that for this specific image, it might have been illustrated by a woman to kind of poke fun.
Be like, boo.
Yeah, so it could be either or.
I love that.
But it's a hilarious image nonetheless.
That's another good tattoo.
That's a great tattoo.
The penis tree.
That should be all of our group tattoo.
I think we should add a third nun, and it's just the three of us penis plucking.
That's really good.
Sunday afternoon.
Oh,
Sunday
we're actually going to change the Gilded Eye podcast cover to be
the
this,
penis.
but it's
Honestly,
us
That would be pretty good.
penis plucking.
So there was a whole chapter on feet, but it was primarily focused on washing holy feet and like stories from the Bible and illustrating stuff. And it was honestly a lot about travel, like using and illustrating feet as like traveling agents, which they were. But
of course,
nothing. It was a cool chapter. Read the book to read the chapter all about feet. The most interesting image that I found was this image of fashionable shoes from the time. Those pointy ones.
pointy.
Those are... The top ones are hideous, but the other ones are kind of in style right now, I feel.
A little.
Like the bottom one's just a man's loafer.
Yeah.
You know, I love the top one.
I kind of rock with
long point.
It scares me a little bit.
I would love a pointed toe.
a little pointy toe.
I think you look good. I support you.
So anyway, I love all of these images because they remind us that during the Middle Ages, the concept of medicine and science were fluctuating between reality and the fantastical. We weren't really at a position where we were strictly observing the reality of what was inside of us yet. There was still a lot of mystery and theory and room for imagination, which was just so fun, and it led to some really cool illustration and manuscript action. And were the medicines and discoveries 100% accurate all the time? No. But it does prove a world rich in thought and new ideas, which people tried to reckon with through previously held beliefs.
Very good.
So
that was fantastic.
I had fun.
Yeah. We should bring back magic and medicine. And you know, when we think about modern medicine, all of that shit is so new. I'm like, how much of this am I saying yes to just because I'm like, they told me it's true? I would believe everything that they told me.
I would believe if they were like, we need to put this leech on your eyeball because the
Thank
stars
you.
are telling me to do that. Because your uterus is floating up to your neck right now.
I'd be like, I feel it.
I'd be like, you know what? You're making a really good point.
And like, think about, there's no like light pollution. Literally at night, you just see
dark.
That's
the
a good
stars.
point too. Yeah.
And they're there, and you see the Milky Way, and you're like,
oh yeah, that's
stars
true.
are aligned, and it's making my uterus go crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Taurus is in full swing.
Right.
My uterus is in my shins. I need to be
I
aligned.
got two fish chomping on my feet.
This was really interesting.
This
Very
was really
entertaining.
interesting. Yeah.
I'm glad. It was really fun. But I can't emphasize enough how fun it was to read about this stuff. And it wasn't like about a specific artist or anything, but it was still visual information.
Very visual. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I had tons of fun.
I would love to talk to some of these artists from
Right?
this
Yeah.
time and see like what
I want to talk to the wound man, period. Just him.
period.
I'm gonna get him tattooed on me.
You should.
Like, I'm gonna find someone that will do that picture on my body.
I would too.
It's
yeah.
incredible.
Gilded eye.
Back of the thigh tattoo.
The wound
The
man.
wound man. People behind me like, what the fuck?
I want to get one of those. What's the plant that's a person?
Oh, the mandrake.
I would get a mandrake.
Yeah, that's really good. Half
Beautiful.
mandrake, half human. That's so good. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Mia,
Thanks,
thank you
Mia.
for your beautiful research and your beautiful face.
I just love you so much. Thank you, that's for my life. Oh, who's my shout out of the week?
Oh, yeah.
My shout out of the week is my dear friend Kat Huang, who's
Aw.
working on her novel Nostalgia.
Cute.
And she's doing so many pen and ink drawings, and they're so tedious and amazing.
Wow.
And it's going to take her another year to finish it, maybe more. But she's doing so good, and she's trucking along. So good job, Kat.
Good on you, Kat.
Yay, Kat!
We love you, Kat.
I don't know if she listens, but I'll tell her about this.
We'll
so.
shout her out anyways.
Yeah.
My song of the week, Even Flow by Pearl Jam.
Even
Flow. And my shout out of the week is anyone except the IRS.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. That's from me.
Honestly, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, taxes are... I had a whole freak out today. Anyway,
Pay your taxes, do
pay
your taxes.
be responsible. If I'm not on the podcast for the foreseeable future, it's because I got arrested.
Or we kicked her off
Wow.
and replaced her with Wound Man.
Can we be Wound Man for Halloween?
Yes.
3 of us, yes.
That would
No,
be
what
really
if we're
funny.
the penis pluckers? You guys are the nuns, and
nuns?
I'm the tree with the penises on it. Come on, Fat. Come on, Fat. Come on, Fat. Come on, Fat. Shout out my glass.
my glass.
Come on, Fat. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.
you.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye. There's a lot of imagery,
Train. For
There's
those who
a-
don't know, we actually record the podcast on a moving train.
Yep.
So if you ever hear any rumbling
Let's
or
just start
noises,
lying.
if you ever hear papers going or noises, it's not because we're allowed. It's because we're on a train.
So,
I need to cough so bad. Oh my god.
so you either dominated middle ages.
Okay, sorry, Mia.
So I have to do this so that I can read.
Yeah,
I'm
no, you're
just
good.
blocking you.
I
Okay.
get it. You think I'm ugly.
I do. Well,
Wow.
I don't.
Wow.
Was an author who wrote of the body blah, blah, blah. In Henri's native France, the spiritual there's of course the graph back to hot cockles.
Yes.
I'm
hot
so
cockles.
sorry.
Why are you sorry?
Please.
Which shows a wide range of applicable I'm so sorry, such as this mandrake from a copy of the pseudo complex from England in the 12th century.
Yep.
Ugh.
We're so focused today, guys.
Ready? Mm-hmm. To the pain in the womb. Oh, womb, womb, womb. Cylindrical womb. Red womb. White womb. Fleshy womb. Fleshy womb. Bleeding womb. I have to say it again.
Fucking insane.
Oh, womb, womb.
Boom, 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 boom.